Hello, my name is Jennifer Hill, and I am a recording artist and a mentor and teacher, and I'm here to give my testimony of my experiences with guns in this country. In 1991, when I was 13 years old, I was shot by a classmate. I had broken up with him a week earlier, and as middle schoolers, I never really thought twice about it. I went to go for a walk with a few friends on the railroad tracks near my home, and somehow he had found out about it, and he was there. I really didn't think much about anything except for it was kind of annoying and awkward that he was there until I turned around and saw him in the middle of the railroad tracks pointing a loaded gun at me. Before I had time to even react, a shot was fired that went past my head, and I heard the zip and I ran into the bushes. As I ran into the bushes, he shot me again, and this time hitting me in my left leg, right where my femoral artery is. Luckily, I was shot from 250 yards away, a very good shot. The reason he was such a good shot is because his stepfather he lived with was a policeman, and I was shot by his gun. But because I was a teenager and because my community did not want to have accountability, it was turned into a story of kids playing with guns, and I was victim blamed instead of anything happening to the perpetrator. This happened to me in 8th grade on May 30th, and when I went to high school in September, only a few months later, nothing had happened to him, and I found him sitting behind me in Italian class, every day dealing with someone who tried to murder me. And unfortunately, all of the parents at my school did not know about this because it was kept a secret. And unfortunately, to this day, I have a lot of questions of how the things happened to me that did. Because in 1990, they decided to do an NDA so that there wasn't any sort of issue for the police. From there, I dealt with a lot of people attacking me and blaming me for what happened to me. I'm not really sure why the gun wasn't properly locked up if it was owned by a cop. And I will never know what really happened to myself unless I go through the Freedom of Information Act because it has been a closed case. Even I don't know exactly what happened to myself. I don't know how he procured the gun. I just know that at first they tried to say that he had somehow gotten a gun off the street, so there was no accountability. I still deal with the ramifications of that incident to this day. I'm constantly harassed anytime there's a school or mass shooting by my former classmates who choose guns over lives. They see me as a threat to their right to bear arms, and I have to protect myself and my family due to the fact that I speak out, something many wish that I didn't do. The next incident that dealt with gun violence in my life was at 23. I was carjacked at 6 months pregnant and waiting for a friend to pick up some food at a restaurant in New York City. I was surrounded by 3 men that got into the car and held me at gunpoint. Luckily, the last minute, one of them decided to let me go, only to walk away from the car terrified that I would be shot in the back as I walked away. The third incident in my life occurred at 28. I was finally living in my hometown again and starting to feel safe, or so I thought. My fiance at the time was ex-military and knew my past with guns. He swore to keep me safe and told me he would never hurt me. During the 7 years we were together, he got a permit to carry a concealed weapon, which he started to carry on him at all times. I didn't like it, and I would always tell him that it was unnecessary, especially since he knew my past. What I didn't realize at the time is that the gun was being used to control me. Just the fact he had it on him at all times put a bit of fear into me, but we were in love and he promised to protect me, so I let it go. That promise was broken the night I broke off the engagement. He was becoming super controlling about everything, and I had gotten cold feet. My friends, my clothes, even the events I sang at, he wanted to control every part of my life. So instead, I broke it off. A week later, he showed up at my house and tried to force his way in. I told him he couldn't come in and that I didn't trust him due to his always having a gun and he was acting very suspicious. He told me to pat him down, which I did, in the usual places. But he was too smart for me and had moved it into his sock, a place that I forgot to check. For the next 2 hours, I was held at gunpoint while I begged for my life and peed my pants. My 4-year-old daughter asleep in the other room. I had been here before, at 13 years old. But at 13, he didn't really love me yet. He wasn't really a boyfriend. This man loved me, so I figured this was the end. He said his plan was to shoot himself in the heart so I could watch him die, and he could be in my arms. Yet he wouldn't stop pointing the gun directly at me. Luckily, for me, he had taken some drugs before he came to my house and they started to take effect and he started to pass out. I took that opportunity to run from my house with my child and flee to my parents' house. Now that I am older and I understand things better, it is very crazy to me that this person was even able to get a gun permit. This is why I believe red flag laws are very important. We don't need to just do paperwork. We need to actually speak to people that have had experiences with these people. I had no idea until further research that he went AWOL in the military and was dishonorably discharged for stealing his firearm and stalking his ex-wife. Why that did not come up in any of the security background checks that are supposed to be so thorough doesn't make sense to me. But when I reported the incident to the police, because no one saw it happen to me, there is no record. And there is no record of anything that he's done because I was never believed, which means that he can still purchase any firearm that he wants. During the time in Connecticut that this happened to me, the law stated that permit and certificate applicants must pass state and national criminal history record checks and meet other criteria in law, including in the case of a carry permit being deemed suitable to get a permit. I do not believe that paperwork will let anybody figure that out. Because unfortunately, when it comes to mental illness and it comes to people who are abusers, they don't even know that they have mental illness. It is not going to be diagnosed. It's not going to be written somewhere. They keep that hidden. You need to speak to people who have actually been in their lives. And those people need to have the guns taken away from them. After all of this, I have become a thriving person because I have had a lot of people take care of me, including my husband. I'm very lucky that I'm with a person now that is able to understand all of the things that I deal with from the ramifications. I have CPTSD, which is complex PTSD. I have insomnia, I get flashbacks, I have nightmares. Every time there is a mass shooting, I am triggered back into the things that happened to me. Every time there is a school shooting, I am triggered as well. And then the community that I was from attacks me via social media and everything they can because me surviving is some sort of an issue to their right to bear arms. No one is asking to take away everyone's right to bear arms. We are just asking Congress to make sure that the people that are getting guns are not people that are going to use them to murder innocent people. After all of the things I went through, I started a podcast for people who have been through trauma. And the first person who called my show was my ex-fiance's new victim. And she told me that I had saved her life because I had told my story. But she also told me that he hid everything so well that he had also done to her that there is still no record of anything that was done to either of us, which means he still has possession of all of his firearms. This is not okay, and at some point I know, unfortunately, something very bad will happen because this is something in his life, but it's not documented. I urge our Congress, I urge our government to pass the laws that we need to protect people. This is not a bipartisan issue. This is a people issue where we need to keep each other safe. I don't need to worry about being in the grocery store with a bunch of people with carry to conceal weapons where some of them are mentally unstable, but no one knows that. We need to do better. We need to take care of our country, and we need to take care of ourselves. Thank you.